Welcome everyone. Right now I am joined by one of the members of Anti-Flag here on Van's Warped Tour. How about you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the band if people don't know you already.
Hi, my name is Pat Thetic. I play drums in a band called Anti-Flag, and we are a leftist punk rock band that will rock your face off.
So you guys been playing for a long time, maybe like 20-ish years?
20, somewhere around there. Justin and I have been playing for probably 25, 30 years, but the band in this carnation has been about 20 years.
With all these 20 years, you guys played a lot of Van's Warped Tour. So
Yes.
what's your feeling on the diverse nature that the tour became?
I think it had to become a little bit more diverse to survive as long as it has. The other bands are not necessarily interesting to me, but they should be here as much as anybody else should be here.
And that's like an interesting thing because lots of people bring up, the attendance is going down, it's going up, it's all over the place. What do you feel like is the biggest thing for Warped Tour to really keep going? Other than diversing its crowd.
Well, the thing that keeps Warped Tour going is that it's actually quite a value. You get 100 bands or so for whatever the price of the ticket is. Now, a lot of those bands are including my band, but that will, people look at it, they're like, hopefully within the 12 hours of a concert that I'm going to go to, I'll be interested in a couple of those bands for the money that I'm paying out for it. So it's still a relatively inexpensive ticket for what you get.
I think it's interesting you brought that up with kind of finding out new artists, because I talked to like other people, other artists, and they're talking about with the digitalization of media and all of that, and people in like local scenes will go out to like less shows to discover like new music. So do you feel that plays a role in the attendance for festivals, or?
I have no idea. I do know that, before you had to go out to see a show to see a new band. Now you don't have to do that anymore, so that definitely has an impact. But if it all comes down to the bands, if the bands are not interesting, then people aren't going to come see you. You can have the greatest Twitter campaign or whatever you want, but if you're not saying something interesting or doing something interesting, nobody cares. And so if attendance is down for Warped Tour, it's because the bands aren't interesting, and they need to figure out what to do something better.
So let's just start talking a bit about the band now. As you said, you're kind of a leftist punk rock band.
Yes.
So what goes into choosing the topics you sing about in your music and putting it on the LPs?
Yeah, just looking at the world and seeing things that are really and saying, what can we say that's interesting about this, and what can we say that might make things a little bit better? And even if it doesn't make things better, it makes us feel better for saying it, because sometimes you just scream in the wilderness and you just have to get it out.
So how do you feel music is different from, say, just going out and do like debates or like all those other things to get support on certain views?
Yeah.
What makes music so special of spreading messages?
Well, music is really at expressing ideas, but what music does do is it inspires people, and there is a passion that is around music, and when music is at its best, in my opinion, it inspires people to find out more information and go out and find other information that will help educate them. But music is not necessarily a good vehicle for expressing why the Israelis and the Palestinians have been battling for the last 300 years. But it does inspire people to be interested in that cause and find out more about it.
You guys, again, been around for a long time. It's been almost 21 years since your first LP called... I'm sorry. Die for the Government. Yeah. It's actually older than me.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
What are maybe some cool facts about that album people may not know about?
We recorded it in the bass player's house ourselves. The reason why we did that is because we were such musicians, and we're still pretty musicians, but we couldn't, it would take too long to actually pay for studio time. So we rented musical recording equipment and did it in his house. the control room was up in his bedroom and the drums were in the basement, and we ran the cables through the dryer or the laundry chute. Which I don't know. I guess in New York, people in the suburbs maybe have a laundry chute, but that's not something people have in apartment buildings. But yeah, so it is a interesting time capsule of the world in the early 90s when George W. Bush or George H. Herbert Walker Bush was president and was trying to fight Saddam Hussein for the first time.
So I think that is an interesting point. It's time capsule, really. So do you feel like all of your work, LPs, EPs, are time capsules in itself as well to represent that time?
Absolutely. I think everybody's records are a time capsule for the time that they're writing them. The only difference from our records, it's only a slight difference, is that a record about how cool or how my girlfriend broke up with me is a time capsule of my personal life. An Anti-Flag record is a time capsule of the world at that time, at least the world as we saw it at that time.
Let's talk about you guys currently. Is there any writing and production of a new record?
Yes, we are just we're doing mixed notes right now. We recorded right before we left for this tour, so the new record will be out in the fall.
What are some things that the band does to brainstorm like new ideas? Because you guys have a large catalog of music, so what keeps it fresh for you guys?
Just looking at how fucked up the world is. You live in the existence of 2017 when you have a reality TV star who's become president. There's just a lot of material in that horrifying statement to write probably thousands of records.
With the new record, how do you go about writing and actually making a song?
There's different ways of doing it. Each song is slightly different, but sometimes somebody will say, I'm interested in this idea, or come in with a musical idea, and we'll say, what statement do we want to make with this song? Or they'll say, I have this idea, and this is a statement I want to make. And yeah, so each song is a little bit different. But the common thread through it all is that it goes through all of us and comes out the other side slightly different than the way it was brought into all of us, because we all add our own thumbprint to the song as it goes from writing it to the actual recording.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me and having the listeners on Long Island, whoever's in their car listening to WSB right now, a little bit about the new material and just the growth of the band and kind of an overview of what you guys represent and who you are.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk. And yeah, if people are listening to this in your car, stop texting and don't be a jerk.